Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Sony Open. This is my Before the Lock show, and what do I have installed for you today? Of course, we're going to do ownership projections, weather. I'm going to give you my top value plays, 7,000 and below. Also pulled up, I think, some interesting information to show you the guys that are the best putters on Bermuda average speed greens. And also just, all kinds of information I think you guys want to see before you lock in those final DFS lineups and maybe some final bets. So that said, first off and foremost, thank you for stopping by. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, I am so close to getting to 1,000. Click that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and let's get into this. Okay, real quick, little housekeeping items. Of course, I'm still promoting PrizePicks because I am trying to get you guys a nice little prize pool, a little giveaway for the Masters upcoming. And so, yes, if you've not signed up or if you're interested in what is PrizePicks, is it an over-under projections? I'm focusing on the golf side, the PGA, but you can use, of course, any sport that you like. Of course, we got the playoffs for the football coming up, and you're simply picking up to 2 players to go over, under different projections. For golf, it's green and reg, it's birdies, it's what is their fantasy score for round 1, so on and so forth. And if you're interested, they're still offering up to 100% match, up to $100. Just got to enter in my promo code Golf Guru. And if you do that, I do get a small spiff, and that's going to go into the Masters kind of giveaway pool. All right, here's my prize picks for you guys for this week for the Sony Open. As of last week at Plantation Course, I'm going to stick for Wailea, and I'm going to go with the greens and regulation again, as I showed you guys in the preview show. This course for the PGA Tour is the 4th easiest to hit the greens. And of course, we've even got a little better numbers than we did at the Plantation. So I'm going to go with that. I feel a lot of the different options. That's my favorite. So they had Abe Answer at 12.5. So I'm going to go over that he can hit 13 greens out of the 18. I got Ryan Palmer. Again, he was at 12.5. I feel good about him hitting 13. And then even Harris English. Yes, he's been struggling a little bit, but it hasn't been so much with off the tee or the irons. It's been more with the putter. So I like him at over 13. And then I got to pick an under. And so what I recommend for you guys is if you play this, don't go with, I think it's the power play, which means all 4 have to be correct. Go with the flex play, which gets you, if you get paid, I think it's 5X. I forgot exactly. But you get, multiples of the dollars you put in if you hit 3 out of 4. Because even Jason Kokrak, who we know has been struggling a little bit off the driver, a little bit with everything. I had to pick an under, so I took him at under 13. But again, I put in the flex play, not the power play. Okay, so that's my prize picks. Try those out, or after I give you this information, come up with your own. But definitely, I think it's again a good way to diversify your funds. And then just spend a couple seconds on this. Again, comp courses. I went over this in both shows, so I'm not going to go over it again. But in short, I've got 6 courses identified that I'm going to be using to leverage against the guys that I'm picking, even for the value plays. The best 4 are RSM, the Honda, Wyndham, and TPC Southwood, where they play FedEx St. Jude. All of these are par 70. They're all Bermuda, and they're all just a little over 7,000 yards, or almost right at 7,000 yards. And then you can also plug in the Amex and RBC. The Amex, you look at La Quinta as a par 72, but again, like 7,100 yards. Bermuda, RBC is a par 71, just a little over 7,000 yards, and Bermuda. So those are the comp courses I'm going to be using. So if you see me plugging those in, and of course right here you've got the names of the guys, at least over the last 12 times, or I'm sorry, last 3 tournaments, 12 rounds they played there, who's done the best on these kind of comp courses. Okay, so with that said, let's go jump over into Fantasy National, get into ownership projections, some models, weather, and all that stuff. Okay, so I've jumped over into Fantasy National. Again, just so you understand what this is where you can do all model analysis to the 15th degree, specifically all for golf. And again, I'm referencing from a pricing standpoint, DraftKings, but feel free to leverage this for anything else. Also, I'm doing one and done. I wanted to bring that out. I am in the Pat Mayo Cup, so I will give you guys my 5 favorite picks from a one and done perspective. We'll talk a little bit about that. But the first thing I want to show you guys, as I kind of mentioned, I was just curious, and anytime that I'm curious and want to find some information, I want to share it with you guys so you have the same information I do. And it's all about the putting, right? And I said it's irons and putting. Putting might even outweigh the irons at this course. And so what I did is I went through, I got Bermuda greens turned on, I got average speed, and I even put on par 70 because I wanted it specific to the Sony. There's the Honda RSM, there's the comp courses we were talking about. And so the number one comes up as Webb Simpson, again, over his past 12 rounds. So if I click on this, it will literally show the rounds that it's pulling when those greens were stated to be average. So again, RSM and a bunch of Sony, and that's what we want to see. So I just wanted to share that with you. But he ranks number one, and this is by ranking of putting. Okay, so you also got Denny McCarthy, who is one of my favorites from a pick perspective and also from a betting, who does very well. He's only got 9 rounds on those kind of greens. Billy Ho, Matt Jones, Wes Bryan, which someone on Subscribe Base had asked me about him. I'll talk a little bit about him when we get into this, but just so you know, he ranks out well from a putting perspective. CH3, who's had a great, really good course history here, has played it a ton. You got Brendan Steele, same thing, really good course history. Actually, I'll pop that up over there so you guys can see that, what they've done from a course history perspective. Brian Gay, I kind of mentioned him, I think, but I'll talk a little bit about from a $6,100 perspective. I think he's not a bad play at all. You got Austin Cook. I'm not going to go through all these guys, but I just wanted you to see, funny enough, Jason Kokrak, which I think could be a sneaky play. We'll look at ownership projections, but as you can see, right now he's pretty lowly owned just from what he's been doing, even though he just won the Houston Open, but it was with the putter, but could be a kind of a sneaky play. Chris Kirk's been good here. One of my favorite 100-to-1 bets, Patty Gazire. Hopefully he shows up this week. We're talking about Peter Molinari later, Andrew Putnam. There's Cam Smith, funny enough, coming in at 22, even though he's a past winner. Corey Connors, for whatever reason, this guy puts the lights out here. The 3 times he's been here, I think he's gained about 5 strokes with the putter, which is just crazy for Corey Connors. So it's something to think about. There's Ryan Palmer, who I picked to hit hopefully some greens. So yeah, just to give you an idea, some guys that have good track history of putting on Bermuda, kind of medium speed, kind of slow to average. All right, now let's go talk about the guys that I've kind of sifted through 7,000 and below. I've got some guys I'm going to dive in a little bit more, but I want you guys to know just the guys that I looked at and have some interest in playing down below 7,000, and then I'll give you my top 5 guys out of these. Adam Schenk and Alex Smalley, I just got these guys up here because they were already picks of mine in my top 15. So, of course, I'm high on those guys, and you could see over the last 12 rounds, let me make sure I don't have any filters on. Yeah, over the last 3 tournaments, 12 rounds, they've been doing very well. You can see Alex did have a cut at the RSM, but before that was doing, really well. And then, of course, Adam Schenk, who also does very well putting on, you can see ranked number 3 on Bermuda. Hayden Buckley wasn't one of my picks, but I think he's someone that you can look at. Of course, he's a Corn Ferry guy, but it's had a pretty good showing. I mean, he had a cut there, but he had these 2 really good outings, both on Bermuda greens at Sanderson Farms and Shriners. Then kind of fell apart here towards the end, but still comes up from a ball striking approach. Playing pretty well, and ownership's pretty low. So many, Max McGreevy, of course, again the model, another Corn Ferry graduate. Had 3 at least decent. Again, my expectations for these guys is make the weekend. That's first. That's what we need. 6 of 6 going in. But even possible, the guys that I pick, I think could be a top 30. So that's kind of the difference. Is I think all these guys I'm talking about could get to the weekend. Then I kind of hone in on the guys that I think could actually produce from standings. JJ Spawn's actually been playing some decent golf. As you see, last 5 tournaments, made the cut on all of them. Had that T7 at Bermuda, and he's actually, I'll click on him. If I remember correctly, I think he's actually been putting. So you see Bermuda over his career, and he's not a good putter, but at least it's a positive, barely, but it is a positive. And this is what I wanted to show you guys. Over his last 10 rounds, he's actually gained with a putter, specifically over his last 3 rounds. So Shriners, that's Bermuda. You got the Houston Open, that's Bermuda, and the RSM, that's Bermuda. So something to think about. He's not one of my top 5, but when I think of JJ Spawn, I think of a course that has a little more length, and I need his distance and accuracy off the tee. But he's been playing pretty well, so not a bad play at 7,000 also. Kramer Hickok, I just threw him in here. It's the putter. He had that good showing, what was it, the Travelers, I believe, where he went to the playoff with Mr. Harris English. Let's see here. Yeah, the Travelers. That doesn't seem that long ago, but that was back in middle of June. Then he kind of went to a little bit of funk. He also had that 4th at the Houston. Again, he is a Texas native. It seems like those guys, for whatever reason, when they get on home soil, they play well. So there's Wes Bryant. I just wanted to pick him out because somebody in the subscribe base was asking me my thoughts on him. It's kind of funny. I literally Kyle Stanley and Wes Bryant to me are like identical. I don't know why. I'll confuse them in my brain all the time, but Wesley Bryant's actually probably a little better player. I mean, Kyle Stanley is ridiculous. Ball striker. He's just literally the worst putter on tour. But you can see he's made the last, 4 cuts. His best was the T25 at RBC Heritage, which is a comparable course. Even Valspar kind of will fall under a comparable, as in kind of like the par and the distance, but it's just I think it's a much tougher track. He's played here 3 times. He had twice back-to-back T32. So again, that's my expectation. I think for anybody below 7,000, you get a made cut and you get him like, T30 and above, you definitely are going to earn the, 3x, 4x the value of the money you put in. And I'll click on him too, just so you guys can see a little further information. So got some distance, can get wayward with the driver. That's, some issues there. But he does gain on Bermuda over the life of his career. Not a ton by any stretch, but it is a positive. And you can see over his last 5 events, he has been losing with the putter a little bit, but, good with the irons. And let's just see here. So it's been a little bit since we've seen him. It didn't play. He must have been hurt. I think he was. He had that one event at the Zozo, but he must have got hurt after that. So I didn't do a whole lot of research in there, but 6,200 low ownership. If you're doing 20 lineups, 30 lineups, yeah, it might be a good plug in there. I think Hudson Swafford is going to be a little bit chalky. I was talking him up just from what he was doing with the ball striking there for a while. Of course, he had that miscut. That was kind of his first falter in a while at the RSM, which is a comparable course. But he's played here a ton, and he's made the cut every time. So that's what's going to get him chalky. You can see he needs the putter to go. Also, that Prox 150 to 175, not so hot, which we do need that. And I'll click on him just so you can. So he's got a little pop. I always, like I said, think he looks like Harris English. And his game and his swing reminds me a bit of Harris English. You can see Bermuda is his worst putting surface. And you can see around the green and, the putting. It's ball striking elite. So when I think of Swafford and I want a cheap guy on a tougher course, that's the guy I'll kind of lean to. But you can see, he's actually done some good work on, coastal kind of events when he won the Corrales. He won the Amex, which is a good comp course back in 2017. He showed up at the Palmetto. Kind of a weaker field, but tough track. He had a 3rd at the Sony back in 2019. Again, recently he had a pretty good showing again back at the Corrales. Again, good showings at the Sony. So I see all the reasoning. And I'm not, I actually had him picked as my top 5. And then I kind of pivoted just to give a little, a little differentiation. I think there's some other guys that we can look to. All right, Hank Loboda will go to my first guy that I'm probably most excited to play. And I know, you're going to look at all this and it's going to look horrific. But the guy's still been elite approach and putting. He had a T15 at the Houston Open, but the rest, he's had a bunch of missed cuts. And he's played here 3 times, had a couple of missed cuts. So let's go see, why the heck do I actually like Hank Loboda? Great question. This was part of it, right? So what I kind of gleaned was that his last few rounds, he's at least been either neutral or gained quite a few strokes with the putter. And what's unique is that he started to kind of lose off the tee and with the irons. That's what kind of got him into this funk. But before this funk, he was running hot, right? So we go back to the Valspar, 13th at Quail, a 51st tough track. A 17th to the Byron Nelson, 31st, and he rocked out 3 top 10s, a 5th, a 4th, an 8th, which, you could say the John Deere, I think, is a pretty good comp course. And again, some of it was the putter, but it was also the irons were running good. You can see the driver is what typically gets him. Where's his accuracy? Because he hits the ball. Yeah, he doesn't hit too far. And he's decent accurate, but I like Hank. I think he's could be a kind of a differentiation play down here. I'm not so concerned with this. This helps that, if this was all miscuts, it'd make me, but he's had a little time to work on things. And we see even at the RSM, he gained across the board, nothing spectacular, but just was neutral. And, you got to do more than at the RSM. So I'm going to go with that. I think, back to if he finds the putter, does what he typically does with his irons, which are pretty solid, and just kind of breaks neutral with the driver here, he could be a pretty decent play. So I'm on Hank. I just brought up Rory because I think people are going to be, he's less than 4% owned. This is a Rory Sabatini course. He could do very well here. And I think people are going to be a little worried about that DQ. I don't know if he signed something wrong on his card. I don't know what the DQ was for, but typically it's just, you signed the incorrect, score on a card, and that'll DQ you right off the bat. You missed a cut at Mayakoba, so I think that's going to, but if you remember, T3 at Shriners, he had a T10 at Wyndham. Of course, silver medalist. He just went nuts on that Sunday at the Olympics. He's not one of my top picks, but I think you could do worse at that price tag than a Rory Sabatini. Let's just go take a little bigger picture of what's going on with Rory Sabatini. So that's a while ago, but he won Honda. Shriners would have been one of his better finishes recently. He's done okay at the Wyndham. That was a while ago. Just seeing what the comparables. He had a 6 at the Sony back in 2015. Let me see that. Did I look at what his... So there you go. This is a while ago, but he's got a ton of course history here. So look, he's probably played here, 15 times? He's made the cut every time but 3. Of course, he's got that recent missed cut, so I think that'll make people nervous. But he had a 21st in 2020. 2019, he had a 30. So I'm just saying this, when I think of Rory Sabatini, as long as he doesn't flake off and withdraw or do something crazy, he could be a pretty good play. Again, just try to fill in that bottom. Davis Riley, again, not a whole lot to say, but you can see, he's not a terrible play at 6,400. I think a lot of people don't really know much about him. I have used him, I believe, in Showdown. He gains on Bermuda over his career, and again, I believe, is a Corn Ferry guy, right? Yeah. So he graduated from the Corn Ferry. Seeing what he's done since. Nothing spectacular except for the Bermuda in the Houston Open. So you can look at his last 4 tournaments, top 30 or better or miscuts. So again, not a terrible play. I actually think KH Lee at 7,000 is probably the best value, maybe the best value on the whole board. I was actually very shocked to see him priced there from the game that he's been doing. So let's take a look at KH Lee. All right, so of course, just recently had a T33. That's out of 38 guys, so nothing great there. But a T18 at the Zozo, that was a good field. A T25 to CJ Cup, elite field. Shriners, pretty decent field, and you got to go really low there. You can see, everything's, at least halfway or better than the field. What I mean by that is it's, he's ranked 50th or better pretty much in most of these. But the guy's been playing solid golf. He's pretty solid ball striker. Of course, he is not a good putter. But you can kind of see over his last 6 events, he's gained out for the events with the putter. And let's see, the CJ Cup, I'm going to blank because they switched it. That's bent, so it's not Bermuda. But the Shriners is Bermuda. BMW was at Caves Valley. That was bent. And then the Northern Trust, that was bent. Well, maybe he's best on bent, but neither here or there. Long story short, he's at least gained 4 out of the last 6 times he's putted. But if we look back, I think I did this. I think he, out of his last 10 starts, he's only missed a cut once at Sanderson Farms. That's pretty crazy since the 3M Open. And then before that, he was kind of on and off. And of course, he won the Byron Nelson. So again, he's going to be one of my top value plays. I also liked Hubbard. He was kind of there for a bit. I think he actually lost his tour card, so he's only got limited starts. But that guy can get wicked hot. He's actually a pretty good showdown play. But you can see here, last 3 events, a 22nd, a 44th, a 16th. Played here 5 times, made the cut 3. But pretty good putter. Let's go look at just real quick on Hubbard. Little task. So it doesn't really hit the ball very far, but pretty accurate. So this course kind of fits him. Irons and putting, all good. And let's see where he's had his best showings. The Houston Open, the Honda, even Greenbrier. That's a short track. I don't know if they're, it's a par 70, less than 72. It's bent, but I don't know if they're going to be, I think that was eliminated last year. I don't even think they played the Greenbrier last year at the old That I remember. I remember Joaquin Neiman was the past winner there in 2020, but I don't remember them playing. I think it was one of the tournaments that didn't make the cut. Um, but yeah, RSM. I mean, this course fits him. I guess what I'm saying. Uh, I put Nick Hardy in here just because, again, he's a Corn Ferry grad. Not a lot of people are going to play him, but he showed up in the model, and you can see, recent results: a 63rd, a miscut. They had a 26, and he had a T14 here last year. So, something to think about. And see, Robert Streb, he's in there because this is a Robert Streb course. He was playing some really good fall golf. He had a T7, T9, and then Streb won what? Shriners? Let me see here. Let's see his win. Oh, okay. RSM. That was in 2020. He likes RSM. So funny how time flies. Like, it doesn't feel like that was that long ago when he had his win. But that's one of the best comparable courses I could go to. So Robert Streb at 7,000. I mean, there's other guys at 7 I'd rather play, but again, just pointing them out. Andrew Putnam actually was kind of a late ad for me, but it was on my brain from the word go, because when I think elite putters like a Denny McCarthy, someone that just does that very well. I know here it's not showing up as an elite putter, but he is one of his strengths. Also, you can see here, made the last 4 out of 5 cuts. Best showing was at Shriners, and then he had a second here back in 2019. It's showing 5 times he played. He might have played this more, but made 3 out of the 5 cuts. Again, nothing too great off the tee, but you can see he gains almost a half a stroke on the field when he is putting on Bermuda. That's the main honest reason why I picked him. You can see, like I said, the putter is typically good. Now, for some reason, if I just pull the last 12 rounds, it kind of didn't give him, which is odd because it's showing here he gained 4 and 4. So maybe that 5 kind of dinged him. Let's see where he gained. So the Houston Open, that's Bermuda. Shriners, that's Bermuda. Just trying to see where he's gained the most. And then we see where he's done his damage. Again, I said, or his best showings. The Sony, the St. Jude, Charles Schwab, all small tracks. Arnold Palmer's not a small track, but it is Bermuda. The Amex. There's RSM. That's a while ago. So again, I like Andrew Putnam. I mean, at this price tag, and he's less than 2% owned, could be recent. I know Luke Donald, funny enough, I already plugged him in a lineup because I went real heavy up top. And Luke Donald is just so sneaky. What I mean by that is you'll totally forget about Luke Donald, and then out of nowhere he'll be like, up in the leaderboard after day 2 or something. He's not going to be there come the weekend, but he will make a cut here or there. So for almost bare men, I mean, it's kind of a sneaky play. At one time was number 1 in the world. Again, this kind of dates me. You can see over his career, he gains almost a half stroke on Bermuda. At one time was the best iron player. He was your Colin Morikawa back in, the late 90s? I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, he tracks back. You can see where he did his damage. The Honda, RBC, 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 RBC. I mean, all the comparable courses. This is where he had a second at the Sony. I'm shocked he's actually never won the Sony. Yeah, I mean, long story short, I'm not going to sit here and sell you a whole lot on Luke Donald, but sneaky play, again, when you're large GPP and you need to differentiate, less than 1% own, why not? Again, if you're trying to min cash, no, you don't want to do that. And he's not a cash team pick by any stretch. If you're trying to win the 200K GPP $15 entry, throw Luke Donald in there, man. And if he top 15s, you're going to have something to, and also kind of that huge savings you're going to have. All right, Molinari, not too far off from a Luke Donald as far as I'm concerned. Of course, he's done more recently, but it's the putter with him, and you saw Peter Molinari was on my cover screen. I always like to put one of my off the wall picks on there, but you can see, the Zozo, he had a 74th, he made the cut. Well, it's a no cut event, so I take that back. Don't look at the Zozo, but the Bermuda, he had a T7, he had a T40 at RSM. And he's got a crazy history at this course, and he does everything. And of course, I mentioned, if you caught the preview show, he came out last year and shot 62, was tied for the lead after round 1. Again, I'm not saying that means a lot, but in his career, he gains almost a half stroke on Bermuda, and you can see the putter has been kind of what's been hurting him lately. But when he does pop with that putter, it's a whole different game. So he almost won Sanderson Farms. He went on this run back in 2020 where he had like 2 or 3 tournaments that he almost won. You can see the Farmers, the Bermuda. He had some good showings recently. And it's this. It has to be the putter because he's irons and putter. His driver is what can get him in trouble, and he's not long. It's just look at this accuracy. So if he can just keep it in play, which there's not a ton of trouble here, and he gets hot with that putter, I think he's a sneaky kind of play, less than 3% owned. Ryder really shouldn't be on here. I like Sam Ryder if you have a long distance. I think I was looking at him and he should have been not in here. So I do not recommend playing Sam Ryder or Adam Simonson. He can get super hot. I told you guys a showdown, but he's done nothing. So please disregard those guys. The last 2 guys I talk about, Michael Thompson. If you guys watch some of my shows back, I think for the RSM, I was really high on him. It did not come to fruition, as you see, a T57, but he was playing some really good golf. And this kind of course is what, if Michael Thompson comes through with a win or a top 5, this is the course. His only shot of doing it is like something like this course. And why he's in here is because I've told you guys, I've seen it time and time again, that if I'm on a guy and in the next tournament he plays, it could be next week or it could be a month, they'll come out and they'll do something really good and I'm not on him at all. And it just happens time and time again. But you can see the more I look into it, again, almost gains a half stroke when he's on Bermuda. Of course, his last victory was the 3M Open. He's won the Honda, which is so long ago, but let me see what else. The Amex recently, good comp course. Way back he had a 6 at the Sony. Let's just pull it up. Let's go do a little deeper dive. All right, so let's look at his Sony. So he's played here, I don't know, about 10 times. Best showing was back in 2012. He had a 25th last year, a 38th. So, the odds are he's definitely going to get you to the weekend. Can he top 20 or, something like that? That's ultimately the RSM. It's funny how they call it here, the RSM Classic. So that's a good comparable. It has pretty good showing there. I'd give it like a B for course history. What about RBC? He had an 8th here not too long ago, a 42nd. And what about the Honda? Of course, yeah. He actually won the Honda back in 2013, had a 19th recently. Let's see, WGC St. Jude, a 57th would be the most recent there. And what about the Amex? Oops, spelled it wrong. So he had a 5th at the Amex here recently, well, a year ago now, but in 2021, a 9th. So again, a pretty good comparable. I think that's all the comparable course. So I'm selling you some Michael Thompson. It's up to you if you want to bite in. Less than, 2% owned. I think he would be sneaky again. If you look at this, it's not looking that great, but he's making cuts and he just needs that putter to pop. And then last but not least, I throw Brian Gain here because it's Bermuda greens. And whenever you put Brian Gain Bermuda greens, you've got a chance that he can make the cut. You can see Gain's over a half stroke on Bermuda. Of course, his last victory was at Bermuda, where if you if you plug in Bermuda, pretty elite, a win, a 3rd, a 12th. But if you look at where he's done, this course again fits him. He's a plotter, and he needs the irons to go right. That's, you can see, really it's all around the green and putting, and he just has a decent iron showing. Let's see, the last time he's actually done something with the irons was at the 3M Open. Let's see, it's actually where he's done his best irons, because man, that's way back in 2008. I am curious. Okay. So it'd be March of 2021 at the Honda, he gained 3.5 strokes. So that shows you, like I said, I'm not saying he's a good play. I'm saying if you're down in that range of 6,100 and you don't want to play my Luke Donald or, then plug in Brian Gain. I think he can get you through the weekend. Okay, let's go look at ownership projections, and then we'll do weather, and then I'll get you guys out of here. All right, so if you're curious on what ownership is coming in at, looks like a lot of people are playing this this event. I'm guessing, again, because football is starting to die down a little bit. We got playoffs, but not the same. So this is what we want to look at here. You got 6,000 lineups that have literally been generated, which should mean they pumped it into DraftKings. So that's a good number to give us a pretty good understanding of ownership. We're going to want to look at this number on the far right. And of course, no shocker right off the bat, Webb Simpson is the chalkiest. Corey Connors, everybody, all the analysts are talking about, and it's the guy putts. I've been saying for a while he putts well on Bermuda. I like him on Bermuda. I like him on slow Bermuda because he's not. I've always said people that you can make an argument here where it doesn't matter. He putts well on Bermuda, and at this course he's gained, I believe, over the last 3 times he's played it. Let me see something here. I'll show it to you guys so you can see it for yourself because it is quite the anomaly. I literally click on this where he's ever had his best putting outings. He gained 6 strokes here in 2018 almost. He gained over 5 strokes in 2020. And there's another way I can do this because he's played her 3 times. Yeah, and gained 2.2 in 2019. So it was, if you watch golf and you're into stroke gain analysis, you understand that Corey Connors is elite tee to green. And when the putter goes, man, he's going to be a top 5, player. Going to end up in the top 5. So I think everybody's on him for that. Sungjae Im, again, puts good on Bermuda and, not too far off from Corey Connors. I think Sungjae Im's a better putter, but they're both, I think, very elite tee to green, very steady. Russ Henley, irons and putting, man. And so no shocker. He was one of my picks. Top out of these, I didn't pick M, but all these other guys. Gooch, no problem there. I just had to make a decision, so he wasn't in my top 15. Seamus, you got Leishman, who I think that's my outright pick for the win. It's funny, Cam Smith, is this low owned coming off a win. And I know, it's so funny in golf. Everybody's so worried that back-to-back win, but, you're not traveling. This isn't his first win. This guy's a veteran. I mean, I don't say a veteran, but he's been around a while. So now, yes, can he come out and totally crap the bed? Yeah, just like any golfer. But everything says Cam Smith, worst case, should have a top 10 here. So Joel Damon, no shocker. You can kind of see where these guys are coming in my Denny McCarthy call. Kisner's over 12%. I'm fading him. I still haven't seen enough from Kisner. Kevin Nas at 10. What I kind of want to get you guys to, and I'm just going to scroll slowly so you guys can see this, is get to you some low ownerships. So this was interesting. Matt Jones is only at 8%. Now, I can see the only reason why. Let's go look at Matt Jones real quick, just while we're here. So you can see he's not usually that great of a putter, but when he does gain, it's on Bermuda. And I made this note, yes, he gained over 6 strokes, and that's not sustainable. But he also did well on approach and off the tee. It wasn't where it was gain 10 strokes with the putter and lose everywhere else. So I don't get it. I see no reason why Matt Jones could not come out and have a good outing. So now maybe it's the price. It is, it's a little hard to pay $8,400 for Matt Jones. So I get that. Max McGreevy again, just a Corn Ferry, had some good starts after the Corn Ferry. Ryan Palmer, I'm shocked that he's coming in at 7%. I'll be shocked when you actually see real DraftKings ownership that if he's at 7%. I think he's going to be less than 5. I think he's a good play here. See here, Siwoo, Todd. Todd would be super chalky if he wasn't playing his. This is a course and an opportunity. Again, if you're looking to differentiate, there's no reason why Brendan Todd couldn't come out and top 10. Now, I know everything we've seen. You can see dead accurate. No, not long, but we don't need distance. The guy gains over a half stroke on Bermuda's career. I think it's just this recent form, but he showed up at Mayakoba, showed up at Fournette, showed up at the Wyndham. There was just that stretch of some missed cuts. Let me just click on this. So again, he won OHL, Bermuda, had that crazy Torrance start. RSM, he had a 4th. This is his kind of track. I will plug him in a couple lineups. I'm going to do it. Where's his ownership at again? 7%. I bet he comes in around 5 when it's all said and done, if not less. I like KH Lee. I told you guys, I think for the value of what KH Lee is giving you right now, I think that's a good play. course, there's my Brokeback Petty Desire. And Hank Laboda. I think, I like him, even though a lot of people's going to be off him. It could blow up in my face. Maybe I'm still just thinking about, that torrid run he had during the summer. I don't know if he got hurt. Something happened with Hank. I don't know if it was a family matter, but I remember he pulled out of a tournament. And then since that, he has not been the same. And so I'm very curious. I should do a little deep dive in it. Adam Long, right? That's my one of my favorites. I'm definitely going to be playing him in some lineups. And I like that bet at 100-1. Michael Thompson. Let's see if it comes to fruition. I was all over him, I believe, for the RSM. And it blew up. So we'll see. There's your Wesley Bryan at less than 2%. Chesson Hadley, I think, is interesting. Nobody's talking about Chesson Hadley. I don't even know if I brought him up, but this is a course for Chesson, like an Andrew Putnam, like a McCarthy. He's elite with the putter. That's his best skill. Gains about a quarter stroke on the field when he's on Bermuda. You can see here, and his irons. He's all irons and putting. His last big gain was at Shriners on Bermuda. The Wyndham, he showed up at Bermuda. I think Chesson Hadley could be, if you watch the Palmetto, right, he was leading by 3 or 4 strokes on Sunday. And I say he's elite with the putter, and I think he missed a par putt from like 5 feet to go to a playoff, and he missed it. And Higo ended up winning. Now, I actually had quite a bit of money on Higo, or it was a nice win for me. We'll just say that, Garrick Higo, that I picked. So I was excited to see that, but you can see he gained 9 strokes. And that is Bermuda. Yeah, par 71. They don't have the yardage, but what my memory was of Congaree was it was a pretty decent sized track. It wasn't a pushover by any stretch. All right, then all the rest of these guys are less than 2%, so I'll just scroll slowly. Garrick Higo is not. He withdrew from the tournament. And I apologize if I did call somebody. They don't have the withdrawals on here. I think Kevin Tway withdrew, but I think Chesson Hadley's still in. Andrew Putnam. We'll talk about it, like I said, but I think that's a great play if he's less than 1% owned. All right, let's go talk weather real fast. Okay, so again, use Windfinder. I usually, like I said, I'll tell you guys this every time. If you're playing Showdown, keep an eye on the weather. Right now, nothing. It looked at one time. You can see there was some winds Wednesday. But right now, again, just like we just saw at the Tournament of Champions, I think these guys are going to have optimal scoring conditions. So you got, nothing crazy here, less than 10 mile an hour. You've got, less, like around 5 to 6. Might be a little rain later, but in Hawaii, that's like, it rained for a second. Again, nothing here on Saturday. Great scoring on moving day, great scoring conditions. And again on Sunday. So what you want to pull up is this Wailea Beach Park, Oahu. And that's literally right next to the golf course. There's a bunch of them in Honolulu points you can pick, but I just picked this one. I always pick the closest one to the course. Okay, I think that's it for me, and I'll wrap you guys up with my top value plays. And oh yeah, don't leave yet. We got one and done. Okay, so to summarize my top value plays below 7,000, we're going with Hank Laboda, Hammer and Hank. Had an amazing summer. I kind of mentioned this, had a little break. Things kind of went sideways. I think he had one good showing since then. But I like Hank. He was so close to getting that first win. So I'm plugging in Hank. I think he's at 6,700. Putnam, I just showed you guys, less than 2% owned. Like, just barely over 1% owned. If you're going with a stack of elite putters, no reason why you shouldn't have Andrew Putnam in there. And that's what we need here. Michael Thompson, same thing. All over him for the RSM, right? He's had a good success here on and off. And this is his kind of course. So let's see if it comes to fruition. See if the one time I, go back to a guy after I was calling him out, if he does it. Occasionally, probably one of the better values on the board. I believe he was 60 or 7,000, I think flat. Been playing well. Of course, won the TPC Craig Ranch. The Charles Schwab? Is that what it was? I think I'm wrong on that. The Byron Nelson. But yeah, not too long ago, this past summer, winter, and been making cuts. I think what I say, he's made the last 9 out of 10 cuts. So, and then Peter Molinari. This is one that's probably a little quinky, but I also know Peter Molinari's game. Has a great course history here. Course came out last year, round 1, and shot a 62. So even worst case, if you don't want to play him in DFS, bet him first round leader. Why not? All right, and now one and done. This will be a new addition to the show. I, didn't usually go into depth, but now that I'm doing one and done, hey, let's do this. So I'm talking my top 5 one and done plays. Of course, Mark Leishman. You could say and maybe think that you want to hold Leishman for the farmers, but if you want to use him here, I can understand that. I mean, we got like about 40 some tournaments. So just a thought, but I think he could end up top 5. Of course, Webb Simpson. Now, for me, I'll hold Webb probably for the Wyndham. I'm not going to spend Webb this early. I'll put it that way. Mark Leishman, I don't. He's kind of hot right now, and I've seen Mark Leishman's game go so south at times. So that's why Leishman, when I think he literally could win this tournament. Kevin Na, of course, here, Shriners. I mean, but this is his kind of course. You can pick any of the smaller tracks, but I don't think he's done that well at RBC. But he has done very well here, right past winter. So could be a good spend. Corey Connors. Now, for me, I will not use Corey Connors in one and done because there's so many tight, tough tracks that I want to plug in Corey Connors, and this is not one of them. Now, I get, he's been just crazy with the putter here, but really you could just go with any Bermuda green, and I think you're fine. But again, I would, not a bad play. I'm just saying for my personally, I'll probably save Corey Connors. And then Russ Henley, who, I think he's been running hot. And just like all these guys, they go through their kind of ups and downs. But this is perfect track for Russ Henley for a one and done. I mean, it's, Bermuda greens. You need to be good with irons. And that's the two things. Russ, and right, I think the last tournament he played, I think it was round 1 leader. But he's been playing good golf. So that's the top 5 guys that I'm looking at. I haven't actually, figured out who I'm going to use. My last one will be Denny McCarthy. So if you want to get a little unique, I think Denny McCarthy would be a good play. Like I said, spend him now. Again, this is a track that he can do very well at. He's been in elite form for him. But, if you want to play a little more conservative, this will be my top 5 guys. All right, with that said, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for spending some time with me. Click that like button, share it with anybody else you think. Again, I'm like 25 subscribers away. Please click the subscribe button. You guys keep me doing this. Keep giving me the feedback. I love it. All the best of luck to us. And then if there's anything that comes out, I will be announcing it on Twitter. So follow me there. If you want any updates as I see them coming, I keep my eye pretty close on that. And if I can help you with anything else, hit me up on YouTube comments. All the best of luck to us. We've had a good start to the season with the Tournament of Champions. Of course, picking Cam Smith. I think I picked, I think I picked 7 guys. 6 of them were good picks. So hopefully I keep it running for you guys. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Have a great weekend.